My name's Tom Neltner. I'm with Unleaded Kids, which is focused on reducing lead from all sources in the environment, whether it's housing, whether it's soil, whether it's the air, whether it's consumer products. Been working on lead for about a quarter century, and I have gotten the privilege of meeting three community-based organizations that are supported by Lead-Free New Jersey. And in talking together, we realized that lead poisoning prevention professionals, whether in housing world or health departments, need to work better with community organizations. And they can learn from each of the three of you. And at the state level, they can see how Lead-Free New Jersey makes this happen. So our four people are from Lead-Free New Jersey is Heather Sorge. She's with Lead-Free New Jersey, and then Shaniqua Lemon from it's Patterson Alliance in Patterson, New Jersey. We have Sherelle Snyder from East Trenton Collaborative and Giovanni Contasano from the Puerto Rico Action Community of Southern Jersey. Each program is different. There's no cookie cutter here, and I think this will be a really good example of how to move forward. How can government agencies or abatement contractors or landlords or people working in this field, how can they best support you? What would be the thing that you would want them to do to really help you? And financing is one, but also beyond that. Anybody want to go first?
I would love to. Um, yeah. So we all know we have a job to do, but we get so caught up in just doing our job and we forget about the people that we're doing the job for. These are families, these are individuals, and sometimes we go and do this job and we're not doing it right. We're not putting safety first. And I've seen plumbers come in and they will just take up a street, put all their dirt that they've dug up, and don't put coverings. And there's families walking in and out of the home like, you know what the neighborhood is faced with, you know the lead hazards, and still they don't act in the best interest of their customers. They just do their job and think nothing else of it. I've seen contractors go into homes and they know that the homes have lead in them and they're supposed to do their work in a certain way and portion off the house in certain areas and they're not doing this and they're looking at the customers. They're forgetting that these are customers and they have children and they're being exposed to these toxins and they're there to do a job to their best. Um, and I don't see them caring about the customers and they're giving them sass. They're telling their customers, listen, we don't have to do this. So the customers feel like they don't want to rock the boat. They don't want to make too many complaints. They're scared that the landlord might throw them out. And the contractor that's there to help them, they feel like they're not listening to them and they don't get the work that they need done. These contractors are coming in with biases already and not helping. So
A little
there I
bit of
go rambling.
respect. It's respect the community that you're working in.
Yes, they do not, because they do not have any type of relationship or connection to that community. And yeah,
Good
we need
example.
caring hearts
We
doing this.
recently, and Sherelle knows this, and we recently had a woman reach out to Lead Free New Jersey. We are not technical assistants. We don't do technical assistance. Organizations like Giovanni, right now, Shaniqua, do have some technical assistance capability. But we had a woman reach out around Thanksgiving, I think it was the day after, and she and her 5 children were being evicted because of improper um, lead abatement. The landlord had realized that his apartment under the new lead certificate law had come up hot for lead, for lack of a better term, and used a non certified lead contractor and subsequently exposed the entire family in the home to lead dust. The children then, of course, had to be tested. Thank goodness they were not positive at the time, but they have to follow it. But they were told because they were Section 8, they were served with a notice on November 7th that they had to be out of the home by November 30th. And I think that the biggest issue there was not cohesiveness, and I go back to that, and communication, and I go back to that between the different agencies that were involved, whether it was HUD or Department of Community Affairs or the municipality, on how is this woman going to move. She didn't have the ability to move. She didn't have anywhere to put her things. She didn't have money for a deposit. She had difficulty getting her money back from her deposit, and she's going to be homeless. They were showing up to make sure she was out of this home by the 30th, and the guise was that the contaminated, it was unsafe. Well, living on the street is also unsafe. So now you go back to this hierarchy of needs, right? Because at the end of the day, yes, lead is bad, but these families are worried about a roof over their head and putting food in their child's mouth and getting their kid to school, and going and living in a motel, right, is in a different township when you don't have a car,
Right.
is not going to help that family. So I think where I get stuck and my heart broke, and if I would have had the room, I probably would have moved this family in with me. What I did as a result of that was reach out to just about every partner, even though I'm not technical assistance, to say, who can reach out to this county, to this municipality? And we did get that family help. But for all of that story, that one story, and I'm glad we were able to get help, what about all the families that don't know about, right? Because I think we're going to see this in New Jersey and across the country over and over and over again. Yes, it's a law. Yes, we have to do it. Yes, it's bad. But how do we braid services and communication between interdepartments and these wonderful people in community to get families assistance when they run into these things? And what is going to be the plan of action when it comes up? Because it's going to happen more and more.
100%. And I think that's why it's important to have an arsenal of like wraparound services, right? And again, back to the benefit of the Patterson Alliance to be able to identify who can do what. And in the beginning, with doing tabling and outreach and just learning, oh, my child had lead poisoning. Oh, my kid was tested positive for lead. And it's like, okay, well, what happened? Nothing. And it's like, oh, they just told you he had lead, and then nobody followed up. No one did anything. We know that it messes up their brain development. We know that they're going to have educational disadvantages, and it's so many other things that just from removing it out of the home, that's one component. So I just feel like, again, back to the interagency and just being able to make sure that families have wraparound services of all the other components that they have been affected by.
Sounds like also a little bit of do your job.
Yeah, and do your job with not just do it, right? Because it's the difference between doing your job and doing it with I can't think of the word.
Compassion,
Yes,
empathy,
with passion, with empathy, just with correctly,
With
right?
care. Do your
With
job with
care.
care.
Exactly.
Giovanni, anything?
I mean, I think about you know, ways in which CBOs may be supported. And, again, I go back to the collaboration, right, between the agencies. That's important. That's critical. No one agency can do it all. And so we kind of spread the wealth, so to speak. And always, of course, right? Funding is always at the top, because without that, there's nothing. It becomes much more difficult to deliver that help. But think about the community itself, right? That's the protagonist, right? And when they get involved, I think that that's where it kind of gives. I think it would be the biggest support that I can think of. Without that, the work becomes way more challenging. Um, and So I think that the community members need to get involved. They Not just for their children, but as well as those future generations, and for your next door neighbor. And so I think that volunteerism is important. Not everybody can get on the payroll, right? Uh, that in small ways, even if it's in small ways, it goes a long way, right? It builds that foundation. You also look at, for example, the legislators, right, or elected officials. Uh, there is a lot of authority there. There's a lot of power in their involvement, and when it's something that it's going to affect your constituency, then there's always that focus, right? Well, it's not just your folks. You're looking at the entire state and you're looking at the entire country. Um, but but I think that our elected officials, our leadership, um, they I think understand the role that they play, and I think is up to us in the community, and I mean us as in community-based organizations, um, and the community
Mhm.
to kind of say, listen, we need your help here.
Mhm.
Not just uh, did you take an oath, right, to assist in these processes, um, but just again that empathy,
Right.
and try to kind of educate those that don't have the information so that they can make educated and informed decisions.
Mhm.
So I think that the community, our elected officials, our legislators, um, and it really just opened the doors, basically. Uh,
Yeah.
I know that there's a lot that they have to deal with, and I get that. But this would be also one that not if, but when we get rid of the lead. And we'll see that difference in the schools and the performances, and of the kids, and so on. And certainly, I think that it would affect the future of this country, if you will. But I think that advocating for stronger policies
Mhm.
is certainly a way to support the work that community-based organizations are doing, and not just in lead, but across the board. Um, you know, um, Helping build community awareness. Providing that education, and businesses, have a big role to play. And by the way, lead doesn't just exist in residential homes. You have lots of businesses that are also affected by this concern. So I think that they play an important role as well. Private entities need also to get involved.
Yeah,
Um,
if I can add some other ways of support also, when I think about the contractors and I think about like trades and the youth and for them to know the possible jobs and
Yeah.
that there's funding out there, that this is a work that I think will be ongoing to remove this. So for when it comes to contractors, if the idea of how do they help train and bring on apprentices to
Mhm.
their companies and really get our youth, our young men and women into that field. And even in if it's not funding that can be provided, in kind contributions as far as professional development training or offering technical support, coming into communities and offering workshops and just really allowing the community to see who are the utility workers, who are my local health professionals. Just being, if community-based organizations can help provide that space for them. When Sherelle mentioned EPA being in their offices and really taking up their space, how are they contributing, to the collaborative? Are they mentioning them on their social media platforms? Are they highlighting them or showing other states and other countries, hey, we're here in Trenton doing this with the East Collaborative, and maybe we could possibly do this, highlighting the work that Sherelle and her team is doing. When I'm running
Just to,
around, I'm sorry, Giovanni, when I'm running
yeah,
around and seeing like billboards up, I'm like, oh, there's
yeah,
a billboard about lead, but why did they put it there? Right?
yeah,
Just so collaborating with community-based people to see like, where would you put this billboard? Don't put it behind a building that, I know what it is because I see it, but someone riding past is not going to know what that is. So
yeah.
even when it comes to communication and just, again, I would love to put billboards up about, you know, lead and just really like alerts, right? All around my city. That's like, I'm going to do it, but I just need the funding to do that, right? So again, if it's not monetary, it can even be in sharing data, right? Needs assessments, things that, nonprofit agencies or community-based agencies may not have the money to do it, but you already have access to those things. And networking, right? If you are not the funder, who is the funder who can help? Who can help? So making those connections as well.
Excellent.
To piggyback on sorry, Tom, to piggyback on briefly on what Shaniqua said, she mentioned the contractors, and they play a critical role in this process, right? Shaniqua, Patterson Alliance, Brackets of New Jersey, have the privilege and honor of being able to provide direct assistance and work with these contractors. And contractors can make a huge difference. We have a contractor that understands, for example, how the DCA funded programs like the lead remediation and abatement programs, how it works, the impact that it has on the children, the family, and the community. And I find that this is one contractor out of 10 that we're working with. Now, as our job, we come together, once in a while, and we kind of provide that refresher, why we're doing this and things like that. So they're to them as a business, and I get that. But you really want to kind of showcase yourself as a business, then you focus on that community, right? You get involved with that community, so you give back, so to speak. And I think that once again the contractors do play a role, and it is also. We also, the organizations or community-based organizations also that do this kind of work also need to be committed in supporting contractors, even though they may, even though they are a business entity, right? It's not always about just making the money for these guys. So some of these guys really want to make a difference. And what better way to do it, that you bring this kind of work, you're getting paid for it, but guess what? It's still having a positive impact on the community. And you certainly want to deliver that message to contractors. So yeah, there you go.
Thank you.